Welcome back to another 50 States of Strange. It is I, your host. If you are new, my name is Azazel, and I like to talk about really weird and creepy things in every state, and then I paint while I do it. We are on state number 4, which is going to be California. I was a little intimidated to do California, I'm not gonna lie. There's just so many murder cases, crimes, weird, creepy things that come out of California all the time. And so I was like, what could I possibly do that might not be, as popular, I guess. I tried to find some things that I don't think are as common knowledge. If they are, I guess you can just add it to the plethora of knowledge you already got in your noggin about all this stuff. So I guess you'll just have to deal with it. No, but for real, if you've heard of all this stuff, sorry, but you'll have to hear it again. For those of you who don't know, I actually live in California right now, and so I kind of cheated a little bit. I got a little bit of an inspiration for my painting by one of the sunsets I saw the other night. So I knew I wanted to incorporate a California sunset in my painting, but I obviously can't leave it as like a happy sunset. So I gotta throw some weird little creepy things in there throughout the painting that I am just gonna have to come up with as I go, I guess. Before I just dive on in, I want to give everybody a warning as usual. The true crime story that I'm talking about today, it's just fucked up, okay? It's really messed up. And if you don't want to hear about that really gruesome part of everything, just go ahead and fast forward through that. I will put a timestamp down below where things get a little less dreary and a little bit more silly, I guess. I don't want to say silly, but I'm going to be talking about some monsters that sound kind of silly. So if you want to skip to that part, I don't blame you. I'm going to be talking about the super tragic case of Marion Parker. If you've heard of this case, you know that it is really disturbing, and yeah. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do a voiceover like I did last time, where I literally just voiced over the majority of the painting, or if I actually want to do like talking while painting, like classic Bob Ross style. The only thing is that I'm kind of dumb, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to like paint and talk, like actually paint and talk at the same time, or if I'm just gonna like zone out and be painting something and forget to talk, or be talking and then not paint because I'm too busy talking. I don't know. I'll see if my brain can handle it, I guess. This will be an experiment. I mean, the last episode was kind of an experiment. It was the first time I did a paint while talking about the murders and things, so I'm just gonna go for it. Actually, I'm not just gonna go for it. I'm probably gonna do this sky on a time lapse because I know that the sky is probably gonna take me a minute. So maybe I'll do partial voiceover. Whatever. It's just gonna happen. Let's go. Marion Parker was a 12-year-old girl who was abducted from her school on December 15th, 1927. A young man shows up at the school and signs her out, saying that he's one of her father's friends from work and that her father has suffered a terrible accident, and so he's coming to pick her up and bring her to him. What ends up happening over the course of the next few days is just absolutely terrible. Oh my gosh, please tell your kids that just because they say they're friends of your dad or mom doesn't mean that you can go home with them. The following day, the family receives a ransom asking for $1,500 in gold, which is about the equivalent of $22,600 today. Throughout this ransom note, this man had signed himself as Fate, Death, the Fox, and other words just written in Greek. And he wants him to meet him in the middle of LA to get the money drop. Of course, Marion's father, Perry, is like, no sweat. I'll bring you your money, dude. I'll meet you in the middle of LA, whatever you want. So they decide to meet up on December 17th. What I'm about to talk about is really graphic, fair warning. After Perry exchanges the money with this man, the man drives away, and as he's driving away, he throws Marion's body from the car. And this is where it gets really, really bad.
All of Marion's limbs had been removed. Her eyes had been fixed open with wires. Her torso was completely disemboweled and had been stuffed with rags. And, it's just, I cannot believe anyone would do this to anybody, much less a 12-year-old girl. Like, it's sick. What's even worse is that this guy just kind of like disappears for a little bit, and so they don't know where this guy has gone. And turns out he was going all over the Northwest with his gold certificates, just like using them to buy things. And he's finally arrested in Oregon on December 22nd, 1927. Once arrested, he is identified as William Hickman, which turns out he really was a co-worker of Perry. He was only 19 years old, and he said at first that he did not do it. He didn't confess. And then he said that he did it for money to go to college. He does end up writing a very detailed confession, which is so messed up. In this confession, he claims that while he had dismembered and disemboweled and whatever else he did to poor Marion, supposedly she was still alive while he did it. William and his team tried to really push for the whole insanity plea, and supposedly he was listening to a supernatural deity he referred to as Providence, and that it told him to do this. And so he literally tried everything to get out of it. Thank goodness that the jury was like, yeah, no, you're sick, you're gonna die. And they did sentence him to death. So William was hung in San Quentin State Prison in October of 1928. I almost forgot to mention they did find Marion's limbs in Elysian Park. He had just like tossed them there, which again, really creepy to think about, that your favorite park might be someone else's favorite dumping ground. I personally feel like this is definitely like one of the worst cases in LA. Just absolutely, absolutely terrible.
I'm really glad I tested the sound out first before I started painting again, because it seems like it's fine for 1 minute and then the next minute it sounds like I'm talking into a trash can or something. I don't know. Anyway, you guys are probably gonna have to deal with voice over me until I can get a legit setup to where it doesn't sound like caca.
That's all I have for Marion. I know it was kind of quick, but I mean, it was a quick case. It was tragic, but at least they got him at a somewhat quick rate. I feel like when I read a lot of cases in the past, it usually takes years and sometimes they never catch them. So the fact that they were able to track him down with the gold certificates he was using was at least one silver lining in this. I'm going to steer things in a somewhat lighter note now, and I guess I should probably tell you guys what I did with the painting. You saw me do the sky. I literally just built up all the darker colors in the background and like the main colors I knew would like shine through in a sunset, and then I just wet my brush and took some white paint and put it over the top so that the clouds would just form. I don't know how to describe painting, okay? I don't even really know what I'm doing, to be honest. I just let my hands go. But now I'm going to throw some mountains in there, and while I throw some mountains in there, I guess I could talk about some monsters and things. For the paranormal side, there is just so much, so much, again, that I just narrowed it down to a few things. California is a plethora of weird, and I feel like I could do an entire series just on California itself. And maybe I will one day, because like from top to bottom, the state is just full of whack, okay? First weird thing I'm going to talk about is the Billowhack monster. The Billowhack monster is originated from a dairy farm. This legend also originates in the 1940s, which is really important when you think about the setting in which this legend was created, and with it being like middle of World War II, like, yeah, it all makes sense. This dairy farm that houses the Billowhack monster was owned by August Rubel, a German national, and August was actually working for the Allies at this time, and he ends up, getting sent overseas, and he is unfortunately blown up by a German landmine. Now, I'm pretty sure that this legend had a ton to do with the fact that August was a German national. I feel like people just were trying to sensationalize it, but I don't know. It's still a pretty interesting story anyway. So it turns out that August must have been hiding a secret underground lab at this dairy farm. A sighting of a goat humanoid with horns and large claws is seen at this dairy farm, and it was hurling rocks at this person's car. And so that's like the first eyewitness account that we see. And it's like they just automatically assumed that this goat humanoid thing had to have come from a secret underground lab at this man's dairy farm. But I guess there's even more sightings like in the 60s by hikers who say they are terrorized by a creature who they describe as looking the exact same way. I don't know. I it sounds silly, but you never know. I have a strong inkling that this legend just popped up because, August was a German national. It was the 1940s. I feel like people were just ignorant and scared, and so they just assumed that this German man was hiding some big secret in his dairy farm. But I think this man was probably just a dairy farmer. Another monster that I'm going to talk about is the Elizabeth Lake monster. Now, if you don't know where Elizabeth Lake is, it's near Palmdale, California, and this is basically like California's version of Nessie, I guess, but not really because it's got like wings and things. A Spanish explorer slash priest came across this lake in the 1780s, and he actually nicknamed the lake La Laguna de Diablo, which is the Devil's Lake, because he believed the devil himself made this lake here and that it was housing one of his pets, which lo and behold turns out to become the Elizabeth Lake monster. This lake also falls on the San Andreas fault line, which is really interesting. If you watch a lot of paranormal stuff, it is kind of known that where there's like big geographical things, that there tends to be more weird, unexplainable things happening. I don't know. I could go on and on all day about weird things to do with geomagnetic stuff, but we'll skip that. Sightings of the creature had been reported as early as the 1830s. A man had built like his ranch around the shore of the lake, and one day all of the buildings had mysteriously caught on fire and burned to the ground. Strange screams and noises had been reported coming from the lake, and at one point there's even a sighting where they shot at the monster, and supposedly when they were firing at it, the bullets were just ricocheting right off its back. This is like some Godzilla level crap. The monster is described as having an over 50-foot wingspan with the wings of a bat, and its head looks like a bulldog's head. It's got the neck like a giraffe, 6 legs, and it is incredibly stinky. Oh yeah, real cute. I ended up using that picture because some of the other ones I found were like drawings that were done in a way that you honestly couldn't even tell what you were looking at. So I just picked that one. Now I'm going to talk to you about another type of unexplainable sighting. This one isn't a monster thing. It's more of like a paranormal ghost thing, but it's really creepy. If you decide to go hiking in the Santa Lucia Mountains, which are about 30 minutes away from Monterey, California, you might find yourself running into something called the Dark Watchers. Spanish settlers claim to have seen them as they were coming through the mountains, but not only that, there are cave drawings throughout the mountains showing these Dark Watchers done by the Chumash tribe. So they have been around for a minute. The drawings done by the Chumash show that these Dark Watchers are really tall. They're described as like 7 feet tall, dark, shadowy figures with wide brim hats, capes, and they use walking sticks. And you can see them at twilight and dawn, but if you go to approach one, it'll just disappear when you get close. And here you're about to see how I exploded my black paint everywhere. It literally just came out the top. I don't understand. But yeah,
It's everywhere. It's all over my pants too. It's great. All right, I threw some mountains on there. You can't really tell, but at the bottom of the canvas, I used a little bit more of like a bluish tone. There's gonna be a little bit of a reflection. You'll see what I'm talking about. I got an idea. But now I'm just gonna throw in my palm trees, because you can't have a California sunset without seeing the silhouette of palm trees. Duh. And then I'm also gonna have to take a break and let this paint dry so that I can put some lighter paint on top. I'm gonna throw the Hollywood sign in there, because why not? I have changed my mind like 3 different times on how exactly I wanted to end this painting, like what I was gonna throw in for the creepy factor, and I've just decided to go more in the true crime sort of fashion. I didn't want to make this video too long either. I'm trying to keep my videos right at about 20 minutes or less to start. If you guys want longer videos with more detailed paintings and more detailed stories, I'm definitely down. I just figured I would start small and work my way up. And now I'm going to throw some police sirens on my painting because nothing screams like a crime has been committed like sirens. I just cut off the H in this video. I just realized that. Oh no, my H. It's gone. Anyway, I'm throwing a creepy reflection in there because, everything is not what it seems. And I'm also going to go back and make those sirens actually look like they're going off instead of just sitting there. And I think I might throw a few more palm trees down in the bottom too, just to fill that void. Again, I literally had no idea what I was going to paint when I started, and this is where we're ending up. So hopefully it's not too bad. All right, now that I got those sirens a shining, let me just pop these palm trees on, and I'm gonna call it. I think I'm happy with just ending right here. Hopefully the painting isn't too boring. I thought about doing extra creepy stuff, but this is where I ended up. So yeah, I'm just gonna sign it, and then we are danskies. There she is in all her glory. The outro I recorded has mysteriously vanished, so this is your outro. I am so sorry, but thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I will see you guys next time. Until then, stay away from creepy creatures, okay? All right, bye-bye.